I played 300 days of Messed Up Stardew Valley. Well, it's 300-ish really, but you'll see what I mean as we get through the year. We are sticking to our promise of no more summit for the 3rd year, and we left off last time having made significant progress towards our goal of perfection. Speaking of last time, you're going to want to catch up if you've not seen the other videos first. This playthrough is so chaotic and you don't want to miss a single moment. Look forward to a year of confusion, Junimo Kart, achievement, Junimo Kart, loot, and Junimo Kart. Did I mention there'll be Junimo Kart? Grandpa's really proud of us, and I hope you are too. So without further ado, let's begin. Starting off the year with fall. On day 225, I accepted the crop order quest for 100 eggplants because I already helped out Gus with an omelette. I was greeted at the farm by the lighting of all 4 candles, and this time I actually remembered to pick up the statue right away. I often forget to do this. I was disappointed to find that the grass did not in fact explode overnight with growth. I guess it's got something to do with the seasons being out of order. Not much I can do about it now. I headed to Pierre's where I found George, who's actually Gus, and now Pierre looks a lot like Jazz thanks to the sprite randomizer we activated at the end of last year. I was here to buy a buttload of pumpkins to grow on the farm, but then it dawned on me, Pierre has limited stock. I really wish I stocked up at Joja now before we booted them out of town. I wasn't really sure 6 eggplant seeds would turn into 100 by the end of the season either. I ended up having to buy everything he had in season, other than the grapes. I just see those as summer forage, and I wanted to get some beets from Sandy, but today there were literally none. Thankfully, I had some crops I could throw in the seed maker to boost my seed supplies, and that feeling of slashing through a load of fibre definitely helped make up for things. I also remembered I was storing a bunch of pumpkins to pickle, so most of those will be turned into seeds now too. I was trying to wait until I had all of my seeds before I planted so I could plan things out a bit, but looking at the time, that just wasn't going to happen, so it was time to multitask. I suppose it makes sense for the farm to look a bit chaotic for this playthrough anyway, and I ended up passing out before even being able to get everything in the ground. What a way to start. It was raining on day 226, which meant I could finally get my hands on a mermaid pendant. Before doing anything else though, I wanted to continue yesterday's planting, even if mostly just growing forage for now, but even then I didn't have enough seeds for the rest of the farm. I rode out with Pigeon to go get a new key quest when I found some very shady business going on under this tree. What exactly is going on here? The reality is, it's just Leo and Linus, but what a hilarious pairing. Let's go get that quest from Mr. Gus's walnut room? Somehow I find this slightly more menacing. I decided to give Key's Cuisine another go, at least maybe. I'm better prepared now I know how much goes into this one. Then in riding through town, I found toddlers just wandering the streets. This one's Alex, and Harvey's looking a lot younger too. Alex is now Pam, and somehow Morris got down here, except this one is Sebastian, so now we have twins. As for my girlfriend Maru, she now looks like Sandy, and the change in appearance didn't stop me from handing over that mermaid pendant. At the end of the day, she's still Maru on the inside. Few more days and we'll be married. With some leftover ingredients from last year, I headed to my kitchen to make a start on Key's Cuisine so I know what I'll have to gather before the deadline. Plus this meant I could work towards cooking every dish. And on this first shipping attempt, I got myself over halfway already. Day 227 was a wine day, which meant the ancient fruit was ready too, though some of the crops still have a long way to go. Whilst I was there, I grabbed all the shellfish to turn into sashimi for the key quest, then returned to the farm, pleased to be able to fill all the kegs with valuable wine now. Though getting this done was a bit of a pain this week, given how many different types we put in last time. Look at all this random wine. I had to come back to the island after that because Lewis was on the resort and I had his truffle oil. It was a bit weird to see Pam had changed back to her original form, but Lewis was looking like Demetrius. Very mysterious. Anyway, I handed over that truffle oil in exchange for a free ostrich incubator, then I spent the evening upgrading the final patch of the farm still using basic sprinklers. Still not really over the fact that I didn't measure this area out properly, but you know what, we'll make it work. On day 228, I dropped off that new incubator before adding more new kegs to the shed. Probably should have done this yesterday, but oh well. Pierre got some more stock in, so I bought more fall stuff again. I can't just rely on buying seeds as and when I need them. I have to be prepared. Given the big old crop order, I prioritised the eggplants, but I also managed to fit in some fairy roses and some yams. For the last little area, I planted some amaranth. That's the whole farm now planted up. This took 4 days, and for the rest of this one, I gathered iron and coal in the mines. Day 229 was the big wedding. Maru was looking much more herself today, and of course, I won't be standing up here without my cone hat. Nice to know it's not working my butt off to complete the Joja Center that made me part of the community. No, I had to marry into it. But whatever, Maru's awesome. My first crop of the year was the bok choy, and all of these got replanted with various seeds I'd saved from our last shopping trip. Some of these were more bok choys, but the rest will be fairy roses and yams. The animals had dug up some truffles for me, but I was surprised they were coming out at varying qualities rather than all iridium. I thought I must have picked a different profession, so I popped over to the statue in the sewer to reset it. I want those iridium truffles. I took some spare gear to the Adventurers Guild tent to sell, when I noticed Marlon was looking really quite different. I'm guessing he was on the receiving end of some sort of spell, but I sold off my stuff and checked on what's left for the Monster Slayer goals, since I'm gonna need to complete these for perfection. Next on my list was more animals, and just outside Marnie's I found Abigail doing whatever this is. I think she got embarrassed because she left when she noticed me. This is actually meant to be Sam. Looks like we have another twin shopkeeper here too, but here I picked out an ant to help with truffle hunting and a guinea pig to fetch me goat's milk. My barn still had one more space, so to fill it I incubated another giant egg. To keep working on the Keys Cuisine quest, I made a load more sashimi as well as a few poi with some spare taro which should help chip away at the goal, even a little bit. Then I thought setting up another tree farm in this space might be a good move. Instead of all oak resin, I planted all 3 types of trees for a constant supply of each tree product. I went to bed that night ready for that profession change, except it took me straight to the earnings screen. I thought something went wrong, but on checking the professions the next morning, I came to a horrible realization. I still haven't found level 10 foraging. I tried to use a hint, but I have nowhere near enough points to show the one I haven't found yet, and I know for a fact I wasted so many hints last year. Let's hope it doesn't come from Junimo Kart. This prospect terrifies me. At least the first eggplants were now here, so we can start making headway on that crop order. And remember that cactus plant from last year? I wanted to get it actually growing, so for that I'll need some deluxe retaining soil. Something I don't have the recipe for yet. That'll cost me 50 cinder shards at the island trader, but I didn't have enough. So after grabbing the banana pudding recipe, I hyped myself up for a volcano run. Plus, it's an excuse to hunt for loot. Though I was hoping for something that was new. Like, please, I really don't want more golden coconuts. I wasn't upset about the extra cinder shards here though. I made it out and bought that recipe by the late evening. Let's get that soil in the pot because as my first cactus plant, I'm guaranteed to unlock something with this. I was ready for some sleep after this productive day, but as I was saying goodnight to Maru, she asked if she could give birth to a cherry sapling. What? I mean, I know her and Demetrius work on a lot of sciencey stuff, but I had no idea this was what they were up to. I said yes, I was intrigued, but I was also pretty concerned. She woke up hungry on day 231 too. Gotta feed the cherry sapling, and apparently she turns into some posts when we kiss, so that's something. I was excited to see more crops to harvest. I suppose that's the perk of having such a mixed farm. Usually at this point I just plant pumpkins, so that's only 2 to 3 harvests depending on deluxe speed grow, but now I can get this little dopamine boost far more often. And since we still have another week for Keys Cuisine, I planted some taro tubers I found in a chest because turning them into poi ends up being pretty valuable, even if I didn't have a huge quantity of them to hand. Anything to make a bit of progress. Sundays are important for desert trades. I will always be wanting more staircases. I do this pretty consistently too, so I won't tell you about it every time. I topped up on seeds at Pierre's again, since I don't really know how his restocking works. I wasn't sure if it was just a random amount per day or something. If you know, let me know, but I wasn't taking any chances. I also grabbed the last grass starters this time, as well as some extra ingredients to cook with. Speaking of ingredients, I harvested and replanted the wheat, all of which went into the mill for extra flour. From what I bought today, I made some more pancakes and bread to sell, then added some paths to my tree farm to stop them spreading later. Tonight was the night we celebrated the birth of our cherry sapling, which meant I woke up to this funny bit of dialogue on day 232. I think Maru is proud of her creation. On this new week, Caroline requested some island ingredients again. The pineapples should be no problem this time because we still have all the crops we planted when we failed that quest last year. Today on the farm we had some amaranth to harvest and replant. Most of these extra crops I sell some of, and I keep some in case I want to process them later. Then my next stop was Ginger Island to collect the first round of pineapples to ship, in addition to a handful of seafood to turn into sashimi. I really can't wait for this key quest to be over. For the evening, I chose violence because I really needed some coal, but I also alternated with some lower floors to work on Monster Slayer goals like the Void Spirit. Even without fully focusing on dust sprites, I still came out with 92 coal because the Void Spirits can sometimes drop them too. The biggest surprise of the day happened as I went to bed. Maru wanted to give birth to Emily Hearts. Firstly, she's just given birth, and secondly, how? I mean, I need it for perfection, so yeah. There were even more crops on day 233. I might start choosing to plant a bigger variety more often in other playthroughs because there's just something about this that brings me so much joy, and it was nice to be able to replace a portion of the forage with actual crops. There is only some of them though, so using some of the over a stack of seeds I just made, I did need to replant more forage. Having burnt through a lot of my supplies, this was a good day to head to the wizard's basement to Pierre's shop to top them up, but when I walked in, the first thing I noticed was that thing. I don't know what to call it. A gathering of activities? I don't know. But then over at the counter, I noticed Pierre had gone for a beach day, except the magical box has unlimited stock. Give me all those pumpkins. And you know what? I also took advantage of this day by buying the other seasonal equivalents, so the melons and the cauliflowers, in addition to a couple of extra things. I stuffed what I could into my overflowing seed chest, placing a couple of random things on the farm so I could fit the rest in the chest next to it. For this week's key quest, I begrudgingly accepted the Junimo cart one. I don't know if I need this for perfection, and I don't have enough points to ask for a hint, so the only way to find out is to tackle it head on. It had been a good few weeks since I last played, so I was a bit out of practice, and it took me some time to get past the first jumps, but for today, I only managed to get to the beginning of that third level in my best run. On day 234, I bought more bombs from the dwarf because it was about time I was craving some skull caverns. Believe it or not, I was slightly rusty here too because I didn't eat my first spicy eel till several hours in. Now obviously I was after some loot, but I also made an effort to kill most of the serpents I encountered because this monster slayer gold needed the most work. Same with the mummies. I didn't get a huge amount of treasure floors today. My floor 100 chest just had some rain totems which could have been worse, and on this very monster focused day, I passed out on floor 139. I hope you all remember what's next for day 235. Even though I only found a couple of treasure floors, I'm not going to complain about coming away with hundreds of ore and 7 prismatic shards. 3 of those went to a magic rock candy from the desert trader, and with the loot related stuff now sorted, I could turn my attention to the eggplant and yam harvest. Then in deciding what to plant next, I realised I bought over 600 melon seeds for the summer I never want again. That was a huge waste of money, and I shoved them in the shipping bin because I don't want to look at them ever again. The Skull Cavern run yesterday meant I missed the usual wine day, so I guess I'll be doing this on Thursdays from now on. And it also meant being able to harvest more pineapples for Caroline. I managed to finish filling out the shed with kegs on this day, which meant I could move on to lining the greenhouse with them too, because I won't be using this space for fruit trees. I cooked another random assortment of food for Mr. Key before working on the wheat I missed earlier. This left a good space to plant some of the leftover seeds I had for chest space, and get a few extra pumpkins down too. I don't know why I didn't do this earlier, but I then fertilised those trees we planted several days ago. I had way more than enough fertiliser thanks to the bone mill, and from the wine, crops, food and some other stuff, we raked in over 300,000 gold. Seems Maru had now birthed those friendship points for Emily because I got them in the mail on day 236 along with 2 letters from her. I was now super close to completing Key's cuisine, so I'm not worried about that one anymore. Plus, there were some cranberries to harvest, so this was setting up to be a good day. Some of those cranberries got turned into sauce, but to really make sure we'd cross that line tonight, I also cooked up another 75 bread. Probably slightly overkill. I wanted to check what unlocks were left at Robin's, who now looks like Sam, but Demetrius' science work has become far more adorable. I gotta say, I'm not sure what this sprite is usually used for Marnie because I don't think I've actually seen it before. Even though I brought the materials with me, I didn't end up buying anything new from this trip yet. There were a good few friendship hearts here, but I was really hoping for that foraging level, which she just wasn't selling, and I wanted to be able to buy more than one thing at once. The fish pond was one of the blueprints I needed to buy, and annoyingly, I only have 4 of the 5 algae I need. Probably should have thought about that before I turned most of it into soup the other day. I didn't feel like going into the mines, so I tried squashing the slimes in the secret woods first, but they didn't drop any, so I had to go in there anyway, and I finished the slime monster slayer goal in the process. I returned to the surface the second I got that algae, and paid another visit to Robin to buy the kitchen blueprint and the fish pond for friendship with Alex and Lewis. I also bought more wood to buy the shed blueprint for penny hearts. At this point, I just wanted to grab all the ones I needed, so I collected some iron from home to get the jazz hearts from the stable blueprint, and that's everything I need for perfection from here. All those blueprints meant I used more wood than I had, so the rest of the day went to deforestation because I needed it to make a bunch of tree tappers. Here's the confirmation that we completed Key's cuisine tonight. The reward was another mine elevator, which I don't need for perfection, but it's definitely more than useful. On day 237, I fancied a little volcano run. I needed to slay more magma sprites, but I was hoping for some fun treasure too, obviously. I do not need more hats though. Usually I'd be excited about this dwarf hammer here, but I think the dragon tooth club would have been better even before I forged it. This will get sold. I guess this chest didn't hear me when I said I didn't want another hat. Let's see how many I accumulate by the end of the save. I'm pretty sure I've trashed some in the past as well. I was not about these golden coconuts either. Let's be honest, all I care about is the hot Java ring now for easy unlimited coffee. I never noticed the pop-up in the volcano, but when I got to the adventurer's tent, I confirmed I finished slaying the magma sprites for that goal, and it was good to get a quick progress check on the rest. Quite a few of them are pretty close now. Using some of the cinder shards I got today, I enchanted my dragon tooth club to get artful, which reduces the cooldown on the slam attack. This should help me get through those goals a little bit quicker. Day 238 was a pumpkin day. There were other crops too, but like, come on, pumpkins are the best. I suppose these eggplants are important for that crop order though. Pretty much everything I harvested today got replaced with pumpkin seeds thanks to being able to bulk buy these while Pierre was taking a day off. Then I popped over to Professor Clint to, I want to say, adopt that quote-unquote ugly baby. I don't need this for perfection, but it just felt like something I should do. I harvested all the taro I forgot about on the island. I don't need this for Key's cuisine anymore, but I still kept some for later use just in case. Then it was off to the desert to plant a load of trees. I mainly want to use all this wood for kegs. They all got fertilized too. Not gonna lie, I completely forgot about that Junimo cart quest till today. The last day, of course. My brain could only handle about 30 real life minutes of dying in the same spot over and over again before I called it a day. I'm really hoping we can pull this off one day. I might have failed that quest this time, but we did successfully fulfill that eggplant order, raising our friendship with Linus. I had a little breakfast with my wife the next morning. She had a strawberry and I had a star drop. That is the last one we need too. For this week's key quest, we'll be doing Key's kindness. Since it's not showing a key gem reward, we can see it's not been done yet. And here's a quick perfection update whilst we're here. I'm pretty sure I've done both these special orders here, but I took the cave patrol one just in case I felt like doing it. I harvested the next assortment of crops from the farm, and from that big egg we incubated, we hatched a big animal. Who knew mammoths came from eggs? To fill up the newly opened crop space, I emptied Pierre's stock of artichoke seeds and planted some yams alongside them. Then I filled up my backpack with items to deliver so I could start handing out those love gifts. But the sprite randomizer definitely messed me up right from the start because I really thought this was George. Definitely need to check everyone before I hand over the gifts now. This gift spree ended up occupying my entire afternoon given how much more time it took me to identify each villager, but I definitely got round to almost everyone. On day 240 there was the next round of forage to tend to, and this time I used up the last of the random seeds in the chest before I filled the rest of the space with forage again. It was also the Stardew Valley Fair today, so I pieced together an exquisite display, and whilst Lewis was making his judgments, I kept smashing that strength test till I could reach the top because some of you let me know in the last premiere that this is actually a check. I got 2 hearts with Leo for that, so this was an important one. I won the fair again too, but I already got everything I need from here before, so I just walked away with a cup of coffee, the dried sunflowers, and the rug because why not? On day 241, I resumed the gifting first thing in the morning, including waking some people up in their own homes. I got my last gift out at the saloon around lunchtime. The beach totems were not great, but we're slowly ruling out all the checks I don't need for perfection. I wasn't going to leave this place without doing a bit of Junimo cart because we still have some levels here with rewards. To break up how much of this game I play in one go, I've started giving myself 3 attempts per day of progress mode just to protect my sanity, and let's be honest, this is mostly because of Glowshroom Grotto. I probably won't go into detail or even tell you about a lot of these sessions because telling you I played Junimo cart and unlocked absolutely nothing every single day will be pretty boring and repetitive. I don't need to put you through this nightmare too. Just know I'm working on it, and at this point I was reaching the last level or 2 on the majority of my attempts, which alone I'm pretty proud of. I got back to the farm that afternoon to tend to the latest batch of crops, and with Pierre out of the office today, I was able to grab myself a good couple of 100 artichoke seeds to replace all the non-regrowable crops. The rest of my day was then spent in the mine slaying skeletons for Clint's quest whilst also gathering iron, finishing that up around midnight. Day 242 was an ancient fruit and wine day. This also meant the pineapples were ready, and these should be the last I need to ship to complete island ingredients. I like to be able to keep pineapples as a backup for wine in case I run out of ancient fruit. Whilst adding to the greenhouse kegs, I noticed the cactus was bearing fruit, but all I got for this harvest was a painting I don't even want. I rewarded myself for the wine day duties with a volcano run. My only treasure chest was on the 9th floor, and what do you know, another freaking pirate hat, so this really wasn't even worth it. And neither was the island ingredients quest because all we got were 30 spring seeds. We made almost 500 grand though. After dealing with the crops on day 243, I shopped for some hoppers with my key crystals. With all the animals we've acquired, I was starting to accumulate a lot of animal products to process, so I decided to set up a dedicated area for the cheese and mayo machines to make my life a little bit easier. Then it was over to the adventurers tent to sell some spare gear, a lot of which were bone swords from all those skeletons the other day. Whilst I was on the island, I chopped down all the trees on my never-ending quest for wood. Every save it's always the same story, there's never enough wood. I spent the whole of day 244 sort of decorating the Ginger Island farm. I say sort of because I'm certainly no great decorator, and it was mostly just paths, but I did also add some tufts of grass to hide torches in because I feel like this adds a little something. On day 245 I set up the cheese making section. This is what I chopped that wood for a couple of days ago. We're about to enter the last week of fall, so I had to be careful which seeds I replanted here, and the amaranth should be done just in time. I had a bit more pathing to finish up on Ginger Island, but I'll have to come back at a later date again because I have a couple of fruit trees which haven't finished growing yet, and I'm pretty sure the paths can stop that from happening. The rest of this day was mostly just some basic farm chores with a touch of Junimo Cart. On day 246, I checked the special order board, but these all remain untouched because I refuse to do all of this fishing again. The Junimo Cart key quest was up for grabs again. I do hope this keeps coming up because I wasn't confident that I'd manage it this week either. I gave myself a minute to mentally prepare by harvesting my cranberries, but this session of endless mode wasn't any different from last time really, still dying around 30k. I took down all that desert wood to bring to Robin's because I wanted to ask for that community upgrade in case this had a check, plus it'll be funny turning Caroline's tea trailer into a tea mansion. Then I came back out to the desert to replant the trees for next time I need an abundance of wood. At this point though, I didn't have enough fertilizer for most of them. Day 247, I was in full loot goblin and monster slaying mode in Skull Caverns. I'll save the haul for the loot review in the morning, and my descent was much slower than usual thanks to all the monsters I couldn't just ignore, but I managed to hit the rock crab goal, and please do enjoy this goofy moment with these 2 iridium nodes here. Definitely the reason I got a prizzy. Then at 1:40 AM I got this secret note, the one to meet Mr. Key on floor 100. Annoyingly, I was already on floor 138. I got several other rubbish secret notes today, but I'm gutted I didn't find that one earlier. Though to be fair, you know as well as I do, we'll definitely be back here for more. I somehow squeezed in another floor and a jump hole just to pass out on floor 146. Time for the loot review the next morning. This wasn't too bad for a run not focused on loot. I've definitely come out with less stuff when I am focused on loot and all, though I could have done better if I threw some stuff away like the single piece of hardwood and the magma geode for example. Here I make a couple more oil makers because I might as well do something with all these truffles, especially since they aren't even iridium quality. Just need a couple more hoppers. I then turned my attention to the farm crops with the final big eggplant harvest, and for all the non-regrowable crops, I stuck some forage seeds down just to keep the sprinklers occupied into the new season. But when I got to the sunflowers, I used up their seeds instead because I really don't want to plant these anymore anyway, and coming straight from the plant, they're free. The slime egg press was finally low on slime, so I thought it was about time I step into the neglected slime hutch. I think I've decided these are just not my thing. I hyperfixated on Junimo Cart's endless mode for an entire real-life hour today. I reached Ghastly Galleon exactly once with a top score of 43,000. This gave me a simple smidgen of hope that I might actually be able to do this. Not today though. I grabbed those 2 hoppers I needed that evening and added a few more torches around the farm in some places I thought could use them. On day 249, I met Robin outside the newly built house. I decided to remain anonymous. I've already drawn enough attention to myself with the accidental teleporting and stuff, so Robin went ahead and said hello to Pam and Penny. Don't know what they're so excited about. They must really love tea or something. Maybe this will be Pam's substitute for beer now. I went over to their place and I can't help but notice it's had quite the makeover. Penny seems to have had one too, and I very much love her new look. I felt like giving the quarry a clear out, then it was time to work on this week's wine day. I may have forgotten last week, but this week I grabbed a few prizzies to trade for a magic rock candy. I think I only forgot once this year, so I'm pretty proud of myself for that, though you might not hear about every trade. On day 250, I harvested the artichokes I've been ignoring for a good few days. Again, being close to the end of the season, I seeded the ground with forage since I'd hoarded almost 2 stacks of them anyway. I then brought some maple syrup to the secret woods because I thought the bear could use a gift on this rainy day, and for that, I got a hoe upgrade. Not gonna lie, I was kinda hoping for the solar panel recipe, the last recipe I need to complete all the crafting. Maybe I can get it from this Junimo Cart quest? I think we all know I wasn't passing it today. This stupid level, I hate it here. So to do something else that required less brain power, I hung all those Lupini paintings in the house. After that little break, I made a start on the bits of crafting I could do, so now I'd know what materials I'd be missing. Some of the items I immediately trashed, but I kept some just in case I want to use them, and others I kept to deconstruct and refund some of the materials. Day 251 was the last major harvest of the season, mainly the pumpkins and the cranberries, both crops to be excited about. I got back to the crafting after that, and it seems the main material I was going to run out of was iron, so I set up a hopper into a deconstructor, prioritising items that should spit out iron. I did have some iron ore, but I was low on coal for smelting, so I reduced the population of dust sprites for a bit. I was also low on bug meat, so I cleared out the bug lair, but there were only a handful of bugs here, so I had to continue my hunt in the mines. Really glad I don't have any reason to wear this sturdy ring because this just seems gross. That brought me to the time for the Spirit Sea Festival. I passed through the maze with ease, ready to grab that golden pumpkin, but it seems someone else got to it first. This is a lesson in how to anger a loot goblin. Not impressed at all. I had the last few crops to manage on day 252, then when I went to continue with the crafting again, I realised I never actually crafted an ancient seed since we've been receiving them as rewards. Thankfully, I could bring a load of omnigeodes with me to the desert trader because you can get the artifact version of the seed from the troves, though I didn't need to trade for quite this many for it to show up. I also had to go buy the flower seeds for the tub from Pierre. I'm never quite prepared for this one either. Suppose I might as well plop it down on the farm as well. It was the last day again for this attempt at the Junimo Cart key quest, and yet again we'll be ending the week with a fail. I wanted an early night tonight, but before I did that I planted a blue jazz in the house because this was the last crop I need for shipping, and I won't be planting it next season because we'll be going into winter. I'm missing a good few things over there too. Day 253 and Mr. Key allowed me a break from Junimo Cart's endless mode. I might as well accept Robin's resource rush though because I'll be happy with more motivation to chop wood. When I got to the farm, I noticed I must have forgotten to place down full forage seeds yesterday, but no harm, it's not that much of the farm in the grand scheme of things, and I want to plant some winter forage as well anyway. Believe it or not, even ignoring the solar panel recipe, I still wasn't done crafting stuff. Then I grabbed the tree fertilizer I accumulated to add to those desert trees to secure the supply for Robin's resource rush. On day 254, I had a magic rock candy for breakfast as it was time for another run in Skull Caverns. As well as the looting and the monster slaying, I specifically wanted to reach floor 100 because this time we should unlock something new from that secret note. On my descent, I completed the Dino Monster Slayer goal, and thanks to this hole here, I made it to Mr. Key that evening. And yeah, I made it down the honourable way thanks to all the luck buffs. We actually got the real milk in the mail in a previous year, so for this one, I got the solar panel recipe. I'm so glad it was here. I carried on filling my backpack through the night and passed out at 2 AM on floor 160 being swarmed by bats. Let's have a look at our next morning's haul. Almost half a stack of iridium ore and 8 prismatic shards. Quite a lot of gems as well. All round winner this one. Now that I had that final crafting recipe, I could make that solar panel and become a craft master. Another perfection milestone knocked out. A good portion of this day was for chopping down Cindersap Forest for Robin's resource rush, when I noticed the trash bear was here, so I took a few trips back and forth to feed them. This took me a little bit because I had to go cook the dishes too, but I didn't have the recipe for the ice cream yet, so I got my pigeon to serve me at the ice cream stand. I'd probably do anything for ice cream too. The sewer area got cleaned up and Dusty's house got an upgrade, and I was curious if I'd unlock anything for this, but nope, nothing new. That night, Morris was handing out coupons to the fish when I was cutting down more trees, and I guess I must have startled him because it looked like he was gonna punch me for saying hi. I left the man to his grind so I could finish off that special request for a bit of extra gold that night. Day 256 was a wine day, and at this point I was very close to filling out the greenhouse with kegs. There's something about outlining it like this that's really satisfying to me. Being able to add new kegs each week also means increasing our income with each batch. I'm sort of just making all this profit for fun though, because all the obelisks and the golden clock we already got for free. I took my prizzies with me to spend after that. some on a magic rock candy, and some to enchant my tools at the forge. I wanted bottomless on my watering can, powerful on my pickaxe, and my axe took several attempts here, but I was looking for shaving. Like, it literally took every last prizzy, but that's fine, I'll get more. This wine day gained us another half a mil. Then on day 257, I used a lot of that gold to buy all the remaining blueprints at Robin's. Even though I don't need them for perfection, I was also now considering getting every possible check that the Archipelago mod has to offer for my playthrough, but I didn't have enough hardwood for the kids' room, so I'll have to come back to this. I needed 150 of the stuff, so I got started on working towards this right away. First in the secret woods, then with the mahogany trees on Ginger Island. Because there were so many here, I was surprised I could actually go back for that last blueprint the very same day. I also asked for that second community upgrade I only recently learned about. These add shortcuts around town, so why not? The next up was the adventurer's tent to collect my most recent rewards. I also took note of my remaining goals to complete and sold off any spare gear I wasn't going to use. I was running out of coal again for smelting, shocker, so for the evening I smashed as many dust sprites as I could and left with over 100 around midnight. On day 258 I bought the remaining unlocks from Professor Clint just to get them cleared, even though there was nothing really important or even any good here. I wanted to give a quick mention to today's Junimo Kart attempt because this was the furthest I'd ever gotten on that final level. I was proud, but also pretty upset because it's hard for me to even get past the first couple of jumps on that one. I rested my brain after that with a bit of light decorating on the farm. On day 259 I chopped up all the grown up desert wood, making sure to replant everything for when we inevitably run out again. That took most of the day, and I planted a few more oak trees to utilise this dead space here for more oak resin. On day 260, Gus was up for making yet another giant omelette. Sure, I'll help. I like me an omelette. I went to get a new key quest for the week, but the door was locked. Completely forgot about the Festival of Ice, to be honest. I treated myself to a couple of house decorations, then I smashed that fishing contest even though I hadn't fished for a good while. I was only ever gonna let Willy have that one single win. I didn't make much gold this day, but I did ship that blue jazz, so on day 261 I woke up to the full shipment achievement and gave Maru the good news. Looks like it's time for me to torture myself with Junimo Kart's endless mode again because my break was over, the quest was back. The forage was now ready for harvest. This was a day late because of the drought we bought from Clint. Thanks Clint, and of course I replanted more. I then paid a rare visit to the Hat Mouse for the Goblin Mask. I only learned about this mask during Streammas. It's so perfect. Gutted that this one is locked behind full shipment though, I wish I could rock this for an entire playthrough. As much as I love this thing, I've really grown attached to the cone hat for this save, but I'm just glad I've got it. The rest of this day was another for monster slaying, partly for dust sprites for coal, but also alternating with getting through those void spirits. The highlight though was scoring a prizzy from a dust sprite. On day 262 I had to buy a load more hay from Marnie because I forgot to cut down my grass before the last season ended. I was back in the mines again today, this time focusing only on the void spirit floors until I hit the goal that afternoon. Then I could return to farming coal. On day 263 I was pleased with my child pulling off that loot goblin look. Gotta start them off young, you know. Speaking of being a loot goblin, I delayed this week's wine day because Clint's drought now meant the ancient fruit wasn't ready on time. This gave me a perfect excuse to hit Skull Caverns again. I was here for the serpent slaying and the treasure hunting, and my first score of the day was my first auto petter of the save. I won't spoil the rest of the loot I got today, but I finally hit that serpent goal and passed out for the night on floor 165. Day 264, and I hope you're ready for this loot review. Look at that, I got a second auto petter. I also got a couple of bits to sell to Marlon, a load of ores, and 6 prismatic shards. Specifically happy with the prizzies, considering I didn't get my first one of the day until floor 98. I got those auto petters in the barn and the coop straight away, and then I made a couple more crystallariums so that we can trade for more staircases each week. We can now handle the next wine day, and once I harvested all the Ginger Island fruit, I headed back to the farm to clear out the slime hutch for the final time. I wasn't really enjoying using it for its intended purpose, so now it's going to be another keg shed since the greenhouse is now full. I was still harvesting more ancient fruit than I could turn into wine. This is a good thing because it meant I could turn the fruit back into seeds. I wasn't planning on going through another winter, so I wanted to plant even more on the farm. On day 265 I cleared out the eggs from the auto grabber, and since I already handed in some eggs to Gus's fridge on a Junimo Kart trip, this completed the giant omelette quest again. I popped to the adventurer's tent to collect the next round of rewards, and I was relieved to check the board to find we officially completed all the goals now. I shopped at Robin's today, this time for a furniture catalogue, which I immediately browsed for floors and wallpapers before realising that's a whole separate catalogue. That one I have to buy from Pierre's. I was bored of the plain look of the shed, so this was the first place to get a refresh. Even some simple windows I feel add quite a lot to them. Then I moved on to practicing my decorating outside. I'm not really confident in this part of the game, and I'm not going to get any better if I don't try, but maybe in a future playthrough I'll use the Furniture Anywhere mod because I want to be able to use things like this outside. There's not too much going on with this, but it'll look better in future seasons because I do like adding grass in decorated areas. Day 266 began with a desert trader trip, followed by a quick little volcano run specifically hunting for that hot Java ring. Floor 9 had my only treasure chest, which just had some pineapple seeds. Very disappointing. Maybe what I need is more luck, so I was expecting to spend the entire afternoon at the dig site panning for the lucky ring, but I got it literally on my first try today. Honestly, I was a little bit stunned. I took it straight to the forge to merge it with another Iridium band, then I had another session of making more ancient seeds for future seasons. On day 267, I was getting desperate to end the daily nightmare that is Junimo Kart. At this point, I was trying all sorts to make it easier for me, including zooming out with the logic that it's easier for me to see the whole game screen in my eyeline. I really wasn't liking it though, so it wasn't long before I changed it back to the zoom level I was used to. I just couldn't escape this stupid game. I was literally starting to have dreams about it from having made attempts on almost every in-game day. The scene inside my brain was very much like this. And whilst I can definitely say I've majorly improved, it was this last level just causing me so much issue because I just don't know where to look next. I was learning to keep my cool though, because it's the anxiety and frustration that usually causes me to lose the last lives. And today, with just a couple of lives left, I crossed that finish line. I had finally done it. I completed Junimo Kart. Now I know this isn't anything close to the achievement of anyone who's done this without this mod, because you usually start with 3 lives and not 11. Hats off to all of you who have done this, truly, but I wasn't going to let that rain on my parade today because these checks made me work for them. Now because the chat box got flooded with this message for this command here, I didn't see what I got for the last level, but I didn't hesitate to release the rest of the checks for the levels I didn't get through because I don't think there was any way I was going to get through Glowshroom Grotto, and I'm so glad I didn't force myself to do this just for a painting. This is also when I found out the game has a secret level. I pretty much melted my brain and all that, so my day was pretty calm. I transferred all my hats to a dresser, then on my way to the secret woods, I found Elliot hiding out here practicing some speed zipping. Not sure what that's for, but anyway, I grabbed some hardwood for reasons I can't recall, and added some torches around the farm. As soon as it hit 5 PM, I was headed for the night market because I had 3 more unlocks to purchase from Lupini, but apparently he'd sold out? Huh? What am I gonna do? I'll figure it out another day. On day 268, I found the reward for the last level of Junimo Kart was just 5 mahogany seeds. Really? Looks like for perfection, I didn't need any of these rewards I got today, but I did proudly display my very own machine. The next batch of forage was ready to be turned over, then I kinda just wandered about aimlessly till the night market. Dodgy Art Guy still wasn't selling anything today, and that's when I found out that in the Archipelago mod, they rotate on a monthly basis. That means that to get the paintings from year 3, I should have done a 3rd winter last season after the last 2 we did, and this month he would have been selling the paintings from the first year again if I hadn't bought them yet. Looks like I'll need to end the year with winter, which is when the ones I need will show up next, but I don't calculate this for a while, and you'll see why I should have later. From there, I headed up to the mines to get to the shrine. The lowest elevator we have is 115, so I mined my way to the bottom because I wanted the ability to gather radioactive ore here from now on. That's how I decided to spend my day 269, gathering radioactive ore. And mushrooms apparently. I don't exactly remember why I was gathering all this ore, or maybe I was doing it just for fun, I don't know. I guess we'll find out in time. I left the mines that evening with 92 of the stuff, and I still checked the night market even though I pretty much knew I wasn't getting a new painting. I would rather go and check than regret not having gone. At least I can walk away with a free coffee. On day 270, I grabbed a new magic rock candy before gathering the bone frags at the dig site. The reason I needed all of those was to make some hyperspeed growth for those ancient seeds, which is what I also needed the radioactive ore for. From all the hanging out in the various mines, I was now out of salads, so I topped up on those, then I kinda messed up because I got up to do something in real life and completely forgot to pause my game, so I passed out on the farm doing absolutely nothing that evening. Day 271 was a wine day, and once I was done with those duties, I wanted to check out a couple of those new shortcuts Robin opened up in town. I don't know how much I'll make use of these, but they're nice to have, though I think the one I might use the most is the one from the town to near the quarry. Down at the beach, I took another look at the spa again. I got some comments on the earlier videos letting me know that I can enter the other locker room if I just keep trying. Here I found the actual men's locker room. Never seen this place before. Why do they get gym equipment and we don't? And if I go out the other door, it brings me to the locker room entrances in the volcano, so I guess this is another shortcut too. That does mean if I kept trying earlier, I could have found the wizard at a much earlier time, but I'm just gonna choose to ignore that devastating realization and build a Junimo hut just because I feel like it, and I never had one before, I don't think. I also found out that the shortcut only works one way, but it's good to know it's there. On day 272, I waited for Robin to get to a counter so I could repaint some of my buildings. Everything is chaos and nothing makes sense, and I wanted my buildings to match this vibe. They're all kinda ugly and I love it. I wasn't making good use of some of the machines on the farm, and I wanted to expand my smelting capacity, so I shifted some things around then gathered some more copper in the mines. But it was much slower than I wanted because this was the harder version of the mines. I wasn't up for this sort of grind, so I was only able to make one more furnace today. On day 273, I went and bought a load more copper ore from Professor Clint. I don't usually do this, but I didn't want to grind for it, and I was investing this to be able to smelt more iridium at once, most of which I was probably just going to sell anyway. I used some of my abundance of key gems to get hoppers for them too. This playthrough has shown me that even though they aren't perfect, the hoppers are still pretty useful. It did take me a while to divide up all the ore and coal for them though, and it became immediately clear that this would mean I'll be burning through my coal so much faster. Suppose I better spend the day farming for more. On day 274, Mr. Key reminded me that my Junimo Kart days were not over yet. I was ready to show him I could do it. I got to that 4th level again for the 2nd time this year, but then somehow I passed that one too. I was now above 50,000 points, so how far can I get? Slump Stomp is a pretty easy win, but next, Glowshroom Grotto. This is where it ends. 73,000 points in that one single life? I don't think I'm ever beating this. I got friendship with Jody as my prize, so at least all that pain was necessary. Suck it, Lewis. The merchant's cart was selling the ancient seed artifact for 6 gold, which is wild. I'm going to be looking for these more often. Then I did a quick perfection check and we are so ridiculously close now. It occurred to me that I was soon going to need some grass starters for the farm, so I planted a load of fibre, plus this is more productive than all those dead crops, and given how close we are to perfection, you'll find I end up having quite a lot of shorter days and earlier nights because most of what we need I can't get my hands on till specific days. You'll see what I mean as time goes on. Day 275 was the next forage harvest, and I replanted the spots just to keep the sprinklers occupied into the new season. I then used the day for more nonsense decorating, this time inside my house. If only I did this before the whole town invited themselves in last year. That probably would have made them all leave. The decorating continued into day 276. I'm a fan of the trash can table, and I decided to make some art on the kitchen floor. And for this room, I wanted to showcase some random items, some of which are significant for this playthrough. Let me know if you get some of these in the comments. Day 277 was the Feast of the Winter Star. I don't usually listen to the legend, but in the last premiere I was told I probably should. They were right. There's my foraging level. Willie's been hiding it from me the whole time. I gifted Elliot a pomegranate which he loved, and my gift giver this year was Linus. Clearly he knows I'm a loot goblin because he brought me a ruby. The main thing I had left now was friendship with Sam. I begged for a hint, but I still didn't have enough points. I only have a few checks left. 3 are in those paintings, a couple from Spring Special Requests, and the other is in the Soldier's Star Quest from Kent that he'll only mail about in summer. You know, the season we never want to see again. We'll just have to work our way through them all to find out, but I'll be doing everything in my power not to have to endure another summer. On day 278, I geared up for Skull Caverns when I noticed that today was wine day. We seem to get a ridiculous amount of max luck days, so I wasn't too worried about giving this one a miss, especially since the alternative was making a good load of profit. On my way to bed, I made sure to grab a backpack full of cooking ingredients. I wasn't sure when I was going to handle cooking every dish. I still have a lot of them missing from the Queen of Sauce, but I might as well begin the prep. Our wine day profits were now topping 600 grand and still growing each week. It's nice to be able to do this without the pressure of saving up for things like the golden clock. On day 279, I worked on some areas of the farm that still needed some lighting, and I had a bit more prep to do for the decorating I wanted to add to in other seasons. On day 280, I traded for some stuff, including more staircases from the desert trader. Then I headed over to Skull Caverns because this was our next max luck day. I had 2 magic rock candy with me, but I forgot to actually eat one until floor 20. Bit of a yikes, but it was better late than never. You know what these days look like by now, so I'll let you know that because of the wild amount of jump holes I uncovered, I passed out on floor 268. And before we go on with the next loot review, I got asked to pick a season. I have a couple of special orders to get done, so I picked spring. Totally wasn't intending for all the seasons this year to be in a correct sequence so far, but we gotta do what we gotta do. Before we go on with our spring activities, here's that loot review for you. Almost an entire stack of iridium ore, hello? But what do we have here? Is that an empty backpack space? I've definitely let myself down here, but I will say it's because that space belonged to my last bomb. I divided all that ore between the furnaces, but then I needed to pop back home real quick when I got a cutscene with Maru about a comet passing tomorrow night, so I'll be meeting her at the mountains to see it together. I couldn't remember what I came home for, so my next stop was the special order board, and to my horror, both the requests I need are on the board today. I took the gifts for George one first. That one usually takes me longer, and we'll just have to hope Pam's still craving the strong stuff in a future week. I still bought some potato seeds, and I'll just leave these in the ground till that quest comes up. I also planted some spring forage, hoping that at least some of these will grow into some leeks for George. Then for the rest of the place, I had a small amount of rhubarb seeds, a load of cauliflower we got when Pierre was out at the beach resort, and then for the hundreds of ancient seeds, I only had a couple of sprinklers worth of hyperspeed grow. On day 282, I planted some grass starters in the animal area because I forgot at the end of the last season. I got lucky that a pretty big patch grew by itself, but I definitely needed more to sustain them all. This was also a good time to place the grass in the spaces I left for them, but some will be allowed to spread over time too, and I just kinda generally added little bits to the last month's decorating. I then began my hunt for leeks to try and get a head start before my own ones mature, and I even checked the merchant's cart for one. She didn't have any, though I don't think this would have counted anyway. That night, I went to meet Maru ready to see some exciting space stuff, and what a sight it was. It was just overall a very cute cutscene too. Maru is a lovely spouse, and so I wished for us to grow old together. Not that we really age in this game, and I thought we weren't supposed to tell our wishes. Never gonna happen now. On day 283, I let the barn animals out so the truffle hunters could do their job, and since I had a load of spare grass starters, I spammed them all over the ground. They might as well get eaten. I kept the coop animals inside today because I wanted a bit more time for them to spread, but I did have to refill the hay. Didn't realise we ran out yet again. I was after a couple more fun decorations, so I brought a strange bun to Vincent's toy box for the Ferogamon statue, I grabbed the stone Junimo from behind my house, and I brought a duck mayo to the saloon to get Pinky Lemon. I know there's another one we can get using a super cucumber, but I'm not fishing for one of those, so I'll keep checking the merchant's cart in hopes we can get one that way. Day 284 went to coal farming. Then on day 285, I got this tip from the TV about how friends won't mind you stealing stuff. I have no idea what this actually means for this playthrough because I'm not a thief in this one, so let me know if you happen to know. It was also the next wine day, and this week I finished filling out the slime hutch with kegs. I decided this day to sell a handful of gold ancient fruit alongside the wine, as well as periodically dealing with the animal products through the day, so overnight I made a good chunk of gold. On day 286, I chopped down all the wood I could find in the valley and on Ginger Island too, plus the handful of trees in the desert. This'll likely go to more kegs. On day 287, I realised I missed Cindersap Forest on my travels yesterday, so I picked up all of that before taking all of my magma geodes to Professor Clint's to open, specifically looking for some basalt for my lava eels, which thankfully I managed to find. I also opened all my golden coconuts because they often have some decent stuff to sell inside. I wasn't going to plant these saplings, so I'll just be shipping these. I finally fed the lava eels, then I got my solar panels back out just in case I want the option of more batteries in the future. Then I visited the pier to gather everything from the fruit cave because, as you can probably tell, I haven't been here in quite a long time. Day 288 was the start of a new week, and I'm pleased to report that Pam is still after the strong stuff. This meant I could harvest the potatoes alongside the forage, though I didn't realise till now the potatoes didn't have to be fresh. I'll have to wait till the next wine day to keg them though. I grabbed a few different seeds from Pierre's and all of Sandy's small stock of rhubarb seeds so I could replant these in the spaces with less forageables and more crops. My next stop was the mourners to drop off this morning's leads, and for that, I unlocked the next and final mine elevator. On day 289, I got this tip from the TV about a magical clock that can change time. I viewed this hint quite a lot already, but I only just managed to figure out what it meant. I ran down to my golden clock and gave it a few clicks, and it will fast forward time in 20-minute increments. Wild! No more waiting for the festivals to start or villagers to get to their counters. I plucked all the spring onions on my way to the sewer theatre. I wasn't here to see a movie, but I was after more fun decorations from the crane game. I'm a big fan of these tree decorations, and I obviously needed to get myself some plushies. I put one of those trees in what I call the guest room in the house. The other went in this seating area, and I like the idea of all these plushies hanging out in this grass patch over here. Day 290, and as a reminder, at this point, the last checks left to complete are mainly ones tied to future dates, or ones I need to wait for processing and stuff, so a lot of these days will probably be very short. Like this one, all I really did was check on my machines and my animals and went to bed. On day 291, I bought a handful of rhubarb from Sandy along with hundreds of deluxe speed grow in case I need them. Then I filled up on ingredients to dump in my fridge before bed. Day 292 was a wine day, so I could finally get those potatoes in the kegs. Let's maybe not have a snacksident with them though. With the slime hutch now full, I needed a new location to fill with kegs, and the next nearest thing is the witch hut. This place seems abandoned, so why not, right? I mean, it is literally on my property. On day 293, I said hello to the little Junimos wandering the farm. I didn't want them harvesting stuff for me, it was just nice to see them out and about. At this year's egg festival, I was now able to buy strawberry seeds, and with all those permanent speed boosts, I gathered 17 eggs and secured that victory, simply because I could. When I got back to the farm, I raced to replant the parsnips with strawberries, and somehow I had enough time to get deluxe speed grow on all of them. On day 294, I harvested all the rest of the crops I ignored yesterday. I planted as much more cauliflower as I could, but I had now run out of those, so I had to switch back to using forage seeds, and even those I didn't have enough of. I like to do things in sections, so some cauliflower will stay until I can find something that can fill out the entire area. I had a bit of a weird moment here because I picked up a path that got broken by lightning, but I spent ages trying to put it back, though for some reason, it just wasn't having it. I eventually gave up and shoved it in a chest. On day 295, I accepted Key's Cuisine again. The last successful attempt gave me some confidence here, and it was the perfect opportunity to work through the recipes we haven't cooked yet. I also accepted a big cauliflower order from Lewis because we have more than enough of them on the farm. I bought another selection of seeds from Pierre so I could harvest and replant the leftover ones from yesterday. It's another messy looking area, but at least I'm growing something, and today's harvest will be more than enough to clear the order in a single day. This meant I could collect the reward the next morning for a boost of almost 10 grand. The strong stuff was ready for Pam too, but when I went to drop it off, I was met with a cutscene I don't think I've ever seen before. I found Pam praying in a corner of her house. She was talking about how much she liked her new renovated home, and then she just broke down right in front of me. Pam wanted this to be a turning point in her life, but she hadn't been able to cut back on the beer because she was filling some sort of void, so that's why she ordered this statue. Faith was her missing piece. I was glad she was feeling hopeful, and it looks like she was feeling better now. After that conversation, I just acted like I was here to say hi and drop off some ingredients for Penny. She doesn't need to know I've got the strong stuff for her right now. All I got was a Prairie King upgrade, so I tried to ask for a hint for the hearts with Sam. These were the last I needed to complete all the friendships, but I was 1 point short. Back at home, I found my youngest child now up and about, so of course I wanted to give them a hat, but I pressed the wrong button and picked up this floor divider, which because they were standing there, I couldn't put back. I just handed over the new hat for now, and I'll try again another day. On day 297, I fixed my floor before moving the time forward so that Gus would be ready to serve at the saloon. I wanted to make sure my salad supplies were topped up for future mine runs. I'd also been checking the merchant's cart wherever I remember, still no luck on that super cucumber though. On day 298, I worked on grabbing more ingredients that were missing from the fridge, including needing to get another green algae from the mines. Due to my poor memory, it took a lot of back and forth, but I was slowly becoming more prepared for a mass cooking sesh. The rest of this day was spent gathering salmon berries because it wouldn't hurt to have some Iridian quality ones to hand, and when I got down to the hat mouse, I couldn't help buying another goblin mask specifically as a gift to my pigeon. Now this is riding around in style. Day 299 was the first farm ancient fruit harvest thanks to the hyperspeed grown plants. For this wine day, I finished filling the witch hut with kegs, so I had them overflowing into the teleport cave. The only thing that was annoying about the witch hut though was as I walk along holding right click to fill the kegs, I accidentally go over some of the other obstacles in here and bring up some unwanted dialogue. I've just started selling off the pineapples now too, and today we made over 800 grand from everything. On day 300 I bought a couple of hundred bombs from the dwarf so I could hunt for loot in skull caverns. I favoured the staircases a little bit more today, and I was saving this run for this week or later because I had 2 magic rock candies with me, so I went in pretty excited about the potential for loot. I passed out on floor 193, so not my best, but let's show you what we got. I kept one of each hat to show you which ones I found, but I got a stupid amount yesterday and deleted all the duplicates. I'm in 2 minds about this haul. On the one hand, I got an auto grabber and an auto petter, but I clearly had nothing else better to replace the worthless cactus seeds. After dividing up the ore between the furnaces, I added the auto petter to the guest room to make sure any guests feel looked after. Plus, I hear in the Archipelago mod these are actually functional, like they actually passively increase friendship. Hopefully this should stop any decay with Maru. Back on the farm I had a few crops and lots of forage to harvest. The forage all got turned into seeds, and not gonna lie, I forgot about the potatoes and parsnips down here. I only replanted with forage this time, didn't feel like buying any more seeds, and these will be ready just in time for the last day of the season. All I did on day 302 was agree to help with another giant omelette, along with taking a disappointing trip to the merchant's cart. Then on day 303, I replaced all my seed makers with crystallariums to really accelerate that jade production. I also had the next strawberry harvest. On day 304, I fast forwarded time to get the flower dance started. I didn't really need anything here, I just wanted to be able to dance with my wife, even if I still don't seem to know the moves. Whilst on my way to the desert trader for magic rock candy on day 305, I noticed most of the desert trees had now grown. It was almost time for the weekly keg crafting, so I thought this was a good time to chop down all the big ones, making sure to replant in all the spaces I left. The last cauliflowers were ready the next day, again just replanting with forage to hold the sprinklers, and since it was a wine day, I also had the ancient fruit and pineapples to harvest too. This week's kegs filled up the teleport cave. I didn't go along the back wall to prevent accidental teleporting, so with the remainder, I made a start on filling up the barn. Day 307 was a little bittersweet as it was the last strawberry harvest on this save. I love this crop. There was also the last rhubarb, but I didn't care about that as much. I dropped off all the eggs for the next giant omelette, then I realised that all that unfertilised ancient fruit was never going to be done in time because at this point I knew I had to pick winter next to buy the stuff from the art dealer, and that would mean I sacrificed all that ancient fruit to seeds for literally no reason. I panic placed all my deluxe speed grow because that meant these will be ready a day earlier, and I could get one single harvest from most of these plants. I then headed to Pierre's to buy some more ingredients because today I finally made a start on all that cooking. I prioritised cooking one of each dish I hadn't cooked yet and lugged them all to the shipping bin to go towards the Keys Cuisine quest. It's due tomorrow by the way, but for some reason I only focused on that one of everything. Perhaps I was just curious about how far that could get me on its own, which is not very far at all. As you can probably imagine, that meant that day 308 was a little bit of a mad rush. I had the jade staircase trade to do, along with the last forage to grab and the ancient fruit to harvest before I could put my full focus into completing the Keys Cuisine quest again. I tried to start with some of the more valuable dishes since I am still missing a couple of recipes to finish cooking every dish anyway. To be honest, I didn't really put that much more thought into things today. I just scrambled together whatever ingredients I could find, including at Pierre's, cooked whatever I possibly could, and hoped for the best. When I headed to bed, we already know why I have to pick winter here, and I was relieved to hear the sound of the quest completion. Another round of Keys Cuisine complete, thanks to all those ingredients I've been hoarding. Day 309 was full of tilling, planting and watering because it seems I forgot to place down spring seeds to hold the sprinklers for me. The winter forage is going to feel even better now that I can have them be iridium quality too, though for some reason I only planted in spots without dead crops. I don't know why I didn't just cover the whole farm. Turns out I had plans to plant fibre there instead on day 309, but I didn't have enough seeds for the entire section below, so I left that alone. I checked out the key room and accepted the Skull Cavern invasion quest. I don't need the key gems, but I was hoping this might get us better loot there. Don't know if that's a thing, but we'll find out. Seems the omelettes are still a big hit in this town as well because Gus's special order was back yet again, but this is also when I found out that the golden eggs don't actually count for this quest. I guess his culinary skills have their limits. I took a quick trip to Ginger Island after that to visit Lewis's cave for the lost and found box, but I seem to have walked in on some sort of fashion show situation. That's not my kind of thing, so I waited for it to be over and collected all the goodies I left at the fair. I thought I was a magic rock candy short somehow. It's been here the whole time. After putting away all of that, I returned to the island for a volcano run. I'm still looking for the hot Java ring, but I'm beginning to think it's not meant to be for me in this playthrough because I still didn't get it today. Got another freaking pirate hat though. On day 311 I bought an entire stack of hay from Marnie because I am constantly running out of the stuff. Having forgotten the quarry existed for ages, I had loads of stuff to clear up here because I was now considering making use of this area. One of the things I wanted to do there was display the fun statues, so obviously I had to come to the sewer entrance with a seafoam pudding to catch the iridium Krober statue. Still no super cucumber for that last one though. I'll happily reel in statues, but not the fish. Never the fish. Then I made a light start on that decorating. Day 312 was one for coal farming. Yep, I ran out of that again too. Even though the mushrooms are a bit harder to kill, I still came out that evening with over 250 of the stuff, and I didn't even realise till I got back to the farm, but somehow on this day I got my hands on another auto-petter. On day 313, I was ready for my next Skull Cavern run, and since we have that key quest, we've got some harder monsters trying to stop us. Little did they know, I was ready to fight them for their loot. Any radioactive ore would just be a bonus, though there were definitely some floors that were beyond my limits for monsters. I reached floor 100 via jump hole early that afternoon. Hot pepper seeds were a bit of a yikes though. I continued my hunt through the day, and look how ridiculous this group of bats were. Just thought that was kind of funny, but I ended my night on floor 202, so let's have a look at what we got the next day. I can't believe I got enough galaxy souls to forge a weapon in one day. That's wild. Not pictured here are many cooked dishes dropped by the crates, any hats I immediately trashed, and I did also get a red cabbage seed you may have spotted earlier. I'm happy with my haul today, that was a load of fun. As I was passing through the farm, I realised we missed another wine day in the name of loot, so I guess this will be done on a Saturday now. But first I wanted to finish handing in the eggs for the next giant omelette, then I could get on with our overdue harvest and refilling of the kegs, but since I was overflowing with ancient fruit, I decided to just ship off all the gold ones with the wine. Those along with some spare eggs and a load of iridium bars, we had 1.4 million gold roll in overnight. On day 315, I traded for staircases and topped up on bombs in prep for future Skull Cavern trips, but I came back to the dwarf right after because they kept asking about milk, so I wanted to hand over some of my best and I guess they don't like it. Whatever, I just finished my shopping rounds with more salads from Gus's and headed to bed. On day 316, I ignored all the forage on the farm today and fast forwarded time to get to the Festival of Ice. I know I said I don't want to fish for any more actual fish, but I'll happily do it to win a competition, sticking to only allowing Willy one single win. On day 317, I got around to gathering those hundreds of forage, but this time I decided not to make quite so many seeds. Only as many as I needed to actually fill out the farm. I didn't want to use my wood on tea saplings, so the rest of the forage got sold as is, and I'm pretty impressed with the gold we got from this. On day 318, I topped up my cooking ingredients to cook the final 2 recipes I needed for the Gourmet Chef achievement. That's another perfection milestone complete. I feel like I should have done this much earlier, but I then headed to the quarry to plant a load more oak trees for resin. This was my main bottleneck when it came to keg production, and obviously I had to place some paths around them too, followed by a few torches that I knew would be hidden once the trees are grown up. On day 319, I had a nutritious breakfast of a magic rock candy and a triple shot espresso, and I have no other food in my hotbar because today I felt like taking on the hungry challenge again. I had more than enough staircases to get me straight down to floor 100, but I wanted to save these wherever I could. I felt like these chests were laughing at me today because they handed food to me more than once on my way down, but thanks to many jump holes, I reached floor 100 before 2 PM with a gift of another hat. I healed up straight away and continued my descent. I ended up finding so many treasure floors that I couldn't keep it all, but I passed out for the night on floor 191, and now it's time for the next morning loot review. Another auto grabber and another auto petter? Unbelievable. But at this point, the crystallarium is definitely the top find. Also not pictured here are 3 lots of cactus seeds I obviously threw away. It's offensive that those can even be considered treasure. The only other thing I did this day was hand off more eggs for Gus. I've lost count at this point of how many omelettes he's made. On day 321, I got straight on with the wine day duties. I didn't want to block up the entire barn with kegs, so I started placing more along the walls of the coop, and the animals seemed pretty pleased with this. That's another close to $1 million in the bank. On day 322, I placed down all the statues I had with some pots surrounding them, which I'll plant stuff in later. I still wasn't having any luck on that super cucumber at the merchant's cart, but she did have a cheap bomb today, so that's something. I'll probably just have to do without that statue, so I just did what I could with the quarry today, which wasn't very much at all. On day 323, I chucked an iridium bar into the pond for the lava eels and skipped time straight to the night market. You have no idea how relieved I was to see that I calculated the seasons right because the art dealer was selling stuff again, though today he just burnt me. I think that's pretty rude. On day 324, I double checked that those huts with sand were the last thing we were waiting for just in case I missed something, and yep, only those remaining. Just a matter of time now. I also wanted to buy an aquatic sanctuary there too, which I planned to display in the quarry, but apparently that's not allowed. The next round of forage kept me pretty busy today, replanting with more of the same of course, and any excess I shipped for the extra cash. Today's fake art purchase was exactly what I was looking for. Those final 2 hearts at long last, so I rushed straight to bed to see the goal completion notification pop up, and those perfection messages rolled in the morning of day 325. I wanted to check on the farm before heading up to the summit, but Sam was on the doorstep about a concert or something. Wasn't really listening because we've got more exciting things to do. Murray was already at the top of the mountain waiting for me. We went through so much to achieve perfection in the past 3 years, and I love challenges like this that make me completely rethink how to play this game. To say I've enjoyed myself would be the understatement of the year, and if you've not had the chance to attempt the Archipelago mod yet, I can't recommend it enough. You can really customize the experience, and the wonderful people who made this mod are still working hard to bring us more fun things. I'm excited to check out those updates one day. I'd also really love to do a run where I also have to progress a different game to achieve perfection in Stardew. Our time on the faraway farm isn't up just yet though. We're still gonna finish out the year, plus a little bit more even because I really want to get every single unlock that's available, even if I don't actually need them anymore. Just know some of these days will be pretty quickfire. The first thing I did upon leaving the summit was go grab that statue of true perfection. How can I say no to a daily prizzy? I then went and purchased the statue of endless fortune from the dodgy casino guy so I could have the entire collection to proudly display on the farm. I had one more check to buy from the art dealer today, and my last one gave me 2 hearts with everyone. Are you kidding me? On day 326, I cut down some of the last trees in the forest before placing tappers on all the ones that had grown up in the quarry for more oak resin. Day 327 was spent adding more lighting to the house because it was still pretty dark at night, and I got some prep done to decorate again next season because we won't be choosing winter again. Day 328 was your average wine day. Then on day 329, I remembered to pick up the concern date mask from the volcano. I brought it straight to the basement where I gave 6 urchins a new hat and a new home. I thought this would be a good way to have a giggle about just how many pirate hats I got this playthrough, though it was many more than 3. Day 330 isn't even worth talking about, so we'll move on to day 331, when I went straight to Professor Clint's to buy a load of coal because I wasn't up for farming it anymore. It's pretty much an endless struggle with these furnaces. The last giant batch of winter forage needed tending to today, with seeds still going in the ground just to hold the sprinklers for me, though you probably knew that by now, and any spare forage got sold for over 150 grand. On day 332, I skipped through my mail so fast I missed who my secret friend was for the Feast of the Winter Star. I'm just gonna have to bring some universally loved gifts and hope for the best. So I brought a rabbit's foot and a prismatic shard with me the next day and spoke to every NPC till I found out that it was Evelyn. She got a prizzy since we now have a constant supply. My gift giver was my father-in-law. If you remembered, I've had to bring him a gift for this festival in the past. You'd think he might know me by now, but he wrapped up a blackberry cobbler. As someone who doesn't really like blackberries, I'll probably just give this to Maru. Wait, maybe this was his plan. Day 334 was basically skipped, and you already know what wine day looks like for day 335, but I did backtrack on my plan for kegs and started cramming even more in the barn. The animals don't mind, I promise. Day 336 was the last day of the year, and what better way is there to round off this playthrough than a final Skull Caverns run? With over 300 staircases, I wanted to see just how many treasure floors I could find, and how much fun loot I could come home with. Not like that though. Like, honestly, the majority of them were actually pretty disappointing. I mostly focused on trying to keep a variety to show you rather than just what's most valuable, and over the course of 470 floors, I went through 30 treasure floors. But before we check out the loot, I had to select the next season. With perfection now complete, I have one archipelago check left, and that one lies in summer. I just had to, okay? But I'm not acknowledging the season till I step outside, so here's that loot review. So many hats, so many slime eggs, so many sprinklers, and I just had to keep those stupid cactuses in outrage that this has happened to me yet again. Now I'm not playing this next season to its fullest, and I'm not even playing out every day, so let me give you the highlights. On day 337, I bought a variety of summer seeds from Pierre. These won't be for profit or anything, more for decorating and finishing off the farm. So even though I had limited quantities of stuff, I wanted to be able to plant these in some sort of sections. I didn't have enough to cover the whole farm either, so I'll have to make several trips over the next several days to get this complete. And since the last winter undid all my work, I had to go back around the farm to replace all the grass I laid last year. That night, I wanted to squeeze in the next step of my quarry decorating. I wanted to plant various crops in these pots just for decoration, but I had no idea that I can't do this, so I came back right after with some tea saplings for them. I emptied Pierre's stock of summer crops again the next day to carry on the planting, then added a load of grass to the quarry because I really do like the overgrown look here. I then just slept through the day to 351, because this is the day I should receive some very important mail. Here is Ken asking me to bring him a starfruit for Jodie. I'm so glad this didn't hold up perfection because you literally cannot get this quest until the summer after Kent arrives, which we've been skipping for the past couple of years, so this is the first chance he's had to ask. I tracked him down in town to hand it over, and that final unlock was the Sinister Signal, which is a very special TV channel that we can't access this season at all. But as far as I'm aware, I think it's that thing where the ancient doll comes out of your TV, so we'll definitely stay away from that. 653 unlocks in total, and our archipelago run has concluded. I wanted to give you one final look at the finished quarry. Go easy on me, I don't usually decorate or anything, and you've seen enough of the farm really by now, so I just wanted to show you the final screenshot now that all the crops have grown. I think it's symbolic somehow that we're ending here on the season we started out with, so having a farm full of summer crops after everything we've been through does kind of make me happy. Thank you all for joining me on this insane journey, and a very special thank you to all of my channel members too. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!